Hey guys, it's Christine. Welcome back to the channel. I can't believe it, but I have now been on YouTube for a whole year. I don't know why I didn't really think that would happen, but here we are a year later. It is my 1 year YouTube anniversary. So I thought for this week's video, I would do something a little fun. And I know that you're probably getting tired of lists at this point, but nonetheless, for the first anniversary video, I am going to tell you my top 10 favorite books. So here they are. And I know what you're thinking. There's 14 books there. And we'll get to why that is. So first up at number 10, we have The BFG by Roald Dahl. This was my favorite book growing up. My mom used to read me all of Roald Dahl's books when I was a little kid, and I don't know why it's the BFG for me, but it always has been, always will be. Of course, he's got a million classics: Fantastic Mr. Fox, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, The Twits, The Witches, James and the Giant Peach. I mean, there's so many great books. All of them are fantastic, but for me, it was always the BFG. You've got Sophie, who lives in an orphanage, and she wakes up one night and sees a giant collecting dreams. And so she goes with him back to where he lives, where there are other giants who are not as friendly as him. And they decide to team up to rid the world of these terrible giants with the help of the Queen of England. I have always loved that book. I love, it's so whimsical. It's just all these made up words. I always read the BFG, and in my head, he always had a Yorkshire accent. And 100%, the BFG is what started my love of reading in the first place. So it had to be on the top 10. At number 9, we have A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. I actually have a long form review of this. It was my second ever video. So feel free to go over there and check out, a sort of more in-depth review of this book. The reason I'm putting it low on the list is because I'm a little bit worried that it's recency bias. I have read it within the last year, so it's still fresh to me, but its freshness doesn't take away the poignancy of the book and the beauty of the writing. It follows the lives of 4 college students throughout their lives, and particularly Jude, who has a very tragic life. Everything bad happens to Jude, and he suffers greatly. It will make you fall in love with these guys, and then it will destroy them. It's hard to describe why I love it so much, though. The beauty is the friendships that they form that carry them through the toughest parts of life that we all face. So yeah, A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. It is heartbreaking, but it is fantastic. At number 8, we have The Road by Cormac McCarthy. You've got a man and his son who are living in this post-apocalyptic world. The world has ended. Everything alive has died. The trees are dead. There's no grass. Everything is sort of withered away. And it's just these people who are trying to survive in an unsurvivable circumstance, and the bond between this father and son, it really sticks with you. At least it did for me. I kind of wonder if I'm a bit of a nihilist, because I do enjoy a good end of the world story. And this one is the best end of the world story I have ever read or seen or anything. What I love about it is the message of the things that are true in life are true no matter what the circumstances are, like human connection and love. So that's one of the reasons why I love it so much. There are a number of books on this list that are either banned or challenged, they call them, where it's not necessarily banned across the board. This is one that has been challenged, so that means it's not available in all schools. So go and read it before it gets banned entirely. Number 7 is another banned book. It is Stardust by Neil Gaiman. You've got Tristan, who has fallen in love with the village beauty queen, and she gives him the task of going and fetching a falling star that they see one night. But in order to do so, he has to cross the wall into the land of fairy. And so he goes on all these adventures. There's like all these different storylines that all come together at the end in this really beautiful way. I love this book. I love the high fantasy of it. I love the adventure. It's got, romance and adventure and action, and just it's so good. So a side note about Stardust, it is written by Neil Gaiman, and I guess sitting here in 2026, we all now know that Neil Gaiman is kind of a piece of shit. So you have to be able to separate the art from the artist. I know that I am able to do that if I don't have to look at them. I can't separate the art from the artist if I'm looking at an actor, because if I have to look at their face, I'm just thinking, you're a piece of shit. But if it's a writer, then I feel like I sort of can a little bit. I don't know that I'll ever buy another Neil Gaiman book because I don't want him to have my money, but I already have quite a few and I can't help but love this one. So if you can separate the art from the artist, Stardust is a great book. Number 6, we have, Cujo by Stephen King. I bought this secondhand, so it doesn't have a dust jacket on it, but it is Cujo by Stephen King. I don't know why I love this one so much, because Stephen King, not so much his recent works, but his earlier works, I just love them. They're so good. They're so fun to read, and they're scary, and they're dramatic, and they're suspenseful, and they're so good, and there's so many great ones. And I understand why The Stand is often considered his best work, and I don't disagree with that. But for whatever reason, Cujo has always just held a really special place in my heart. I've always really liked it. It is heartbreaking. I'm starting to think I like sad books, because a lot of the books on my list are sad or have sad endings. So that's a me thing, maybe. But yeah, Cujo is just, it is exciting. It makes your blood pump. It is so good. So if you haven't read a lot of Stephen King, this is one of his earlier works, but it's a great one. So Cujo by Stephen King, number 6. At number 5, we have Mort by Terry Pratchett. Mort is number 4 in the Discworld series. I absolutely love the Discworld series. I love Terry Pratchett. In fact, the name of this channel is a subtle reference to Terry Pratchett because he is a big fan of Footnotes in his books. The story here is you've got Death, who decides to take on an apprentice whose name is Mort. He moves to Mort's realm, meets Death's butler, and falls in love with Death's daughter. As with all Terry Pratchett books, it's funny, but really profound as well. It's easy to digest, but it's got a deep, rich meaning to it. It'll have you questioning your mortality. It's just a really great read. It's also a really good entry point for the Discworld. This is a little bit of a spoiler, but it's going to be years before I'm done. I'm actually doing a reread of the entire Discworld series. So I am swapping something I haven't read with a Discworld. And I know that there's a bunch of Discworld books towards the end of the series that I haven't read yet. So I want to make sure that I have read all of them. So I thought, well, why not? Let's just start from the beginning and, fill in the gaps as we go. So a lot of people have said that this is a really good place to start. I personally am reading them chronologically, but if you don't care about chronological order, this is, I think, number 1 in the Death series. And it's a really, really good one. It is, I think, the book that made me fall in love with Terry Pratchett. I think I read The Color of Magic before I read Mort, but Mort really, I love this one. Number 4 on my list is The Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank. As for most people, this was required reading in high school. And when I read it, I just fell in love. I don't know why it spoke to me so deeply. I mean, obviously, it's beyond tragic, her circumstances. But the thing that really spoke to me was how brilliant of a writer she was at such a young age. She wrote the diary from the ages of 13 to 15. Just she started the diary just before they were about to go into hiding until they were discovered 2 years later. It is a bucket list dream of mine to one day visit the Anne Frank house in Amsterdam. I would love to see it in person. I think it is one of the most important books ever written, to be honest. It holds so much in it. I have this one, which is the original diary, and that was published in 1947. Then I also bought the unabridged version that came out in 1991. This one restores a few chapters wherein Anne talks about things that I think her father found uncomfortable, because her father is the only member of that family to have survived the Holocaust. And he didn't want his daughter remembered in certain ways. Like there's, conflicts she had with her mother in here. There's her sort of discovering her own sexuality. Those were uncomfortable, I think, for her father to read. So those were taken out before it was originally published. They were restored in 1991 and republished. So I also have that copy. And I also have the graphic novel adaptation. It is art by David Polanski and adapted by Ari Folman. It is really breathtaking. I love the art in this. Like it's fantastic the way that it's interpreted into a graphic novel. I mean, I don't know if you can see this, but look at that panel. That is so haunting. I have always loved the Diary of Anne Frank. I really think it is one of those things that's easy to get complacent about, but we shouldn't, particularly with the way things are going right now. It breaks my heart to think that we never got to enjoy her writing as an adult, because I think she would have been exceptional. She already was at 13. So it is an important book. I am pretty sure we've all read it, because I think it is required reading in high school still. But again, it is also a book that has been banned, which I can't even begin to describe all the ways that pisses me off. So we're just going to move along. And we're going to move along to yet another book that has been banned. My number 3 pick is Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. You've got George and Lenny. They are laborers in 1930s California during, I don't know if it's during the Dust Bowl or slightly before or after. It's very dialogue heavy, but it's got this really rich feeling to it. It's a very, very small book. Like it's really slim. But you also have this amazing story that's conveyed in such a short amount of time. It feels like the writing is succinct and it's measured. Like there's no wasted pages here. It's completely heartbreaking as well. I think we all kind of know where this story ends up. But again, much like The Road, it's sort of the idea of a shared fantasy, because George and Lenny have this fantasy of one day scrounging enough money together to buy a property or a plot for themselves. And I think even though George knows it's never really going to happen, that shared fantasy keeps them going in a very hard time. It's another book that has been banned. This one's been banned, I think, because of the language in it, and you just have to take it in context of when it was written. I mean, there's no getting around certain words coming up if you're dealing with people from the 1930s. So be forewarned that that's in there. So I understand why it's a challenge for people, but I just maintain that books should never be banned. So anyway, that's my number 3. Oh, and I fell in love with this book around grade 10 to the point where I'm sure I shocked my English teacher. I asked my English teacher because I enjoyed this one so much after reading it in class, that I asked my English teacher to give me a list of 10 more books that he would consider classics, because I was like, well, if that's a classic and it's actually fun to read and it's a really good story, there's got to be more of that. So he did, and I fell in love with reading all over again. There is a great movie, well, there's a number of movie adaptations of Mice and Men, but my personal favorite has Gary Sinise as George and John Malkovich as Lenny. That's a great watch. It might feel a bit dated, like it was, made in the 90s, and it looks like it, but it's still a great, great story and a great movie with some really fine performances in it. Number 2 is The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. You've got Offred, who is the handmaid of a wealthy family in a not too distant America, where the birth rates have dropped, so women have been enslaved as basically carriers of children. That's all they're there for. Once a month, they have a ceremony where the handmaid lies down between the man and his wife, and he proceeds to attempt to impregnate her. It's very upsetting. Margaret Atwood has said that she would consider this more speculative fiction than she does science fiction, because she said she very purposefully wrote this to contain nothing that hasn't actually happened in real life in some society. So that's upsetting. Like, that is so upsetting. But it is a fantastic novel. I love the ambiguous ending. The book challenges the ideas of religion and society and misquoting Marxists. And it's an absolute masterclass on descriptive writing. You've got like scenes where she goes to see a doctor at one point, a state-sanctioned doctor, and he puts a sheet over her, and she separates her mind and herself from her body that's being abused. It's so good. I love this book so much. Bonus points because Margaret Atwood, as we all know, is Canadian, so awesome. But yeah, I haven't read the sequel. I don't know that I ever will, because even though I'm sure it's good, everything she writes is great, I just love the ambiguous ending of this. I don't really know that I want to read more. So I'm probably gonna just leave it there. So that is The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, number 2. Which brings me to number 1, and it's my list, so it's my rules, and a trilogy can count as one book. We have The Lord of the Rings. Wow, these spines certainly note how many times I've read these books. So, okay. Fellowship of the Ring, Two Towers, and Return of the King. I love The Lord of the Rings. I will accept no criticism. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you are too cynical to enjoy it. Lord of the Rings is a book where you can't bring cynicism to it. It's got a deep love and respect for the characters. Each character is so richly drawn. It's full of poetry and music and adventure and sorrow and love. It's got every theme under the sun. If you are the kind of person that says it's just a bunch of people walking, or it had too many endings, or why didn't they just take the Eagles to Mount Doom, be on your way. We're never going to see eye to eye on this. I will not accept that as criticism. I can go over the reasons for all of those, by the way, and maybe one day I will. But for right now, I'm just going to say that The Lord of the Rings is a book that absolutely changed my life. My older brother, Stephen, is the one that gave me these copies, actually. I think he read them and didn't love it, so he gave them to me, and I had just the opposite reaction. I remember sitting in my mom's living room in an armchair and reading this. I was reading Return of the King. And I swear to God, I started and it was broad daylight, and I lifted my head 2 seconds later and it was dark outside. It's so enriching and so descriptive and beautiful, and the themes in it are so strong, and everything. I can't say enough good things about it. I have always loved The Lord of the Rings. I always will love The Lord of the Rings. I'm sure most people know the story by now. You've got an evil ring that was forged by Sauron in the cracks of Mount Doom, and it has to be destroyed in order for Middle-earth to continue. And who steps up to the plate to do it but little tiny hobbit Frodo Baggins. And so the Fellowship is formed to help him in that task. I just can't describe to you why I love it so much. It is just a visceral reaction from me. I will accept no criticism of these books. I just won't. I love them. I read them. I don't read them every year, but I do read them with some regularity. And as I said, these are books that I believe changed my life, and I think they changed it for the better. So there you have it. Those are my top 10 books of all time. Let me know in the comments below if you have read any of them, if you love them too, or what are some books in your top 10. I'd love to hear it. I would love to see if there's some that maybe I've read. Maybe I could get some recommendations for my TBR pile. So that's going to do it for me. Happy anniversary once again to me here on YouTube. I'm looking forward to the next year coming up, and we'll get back to book reviews really, really soon. I promise. Thanks for watching. Bye.